that point arrived, and did so, rather as we were discussing just now, in relation to the swordfish, through some truly gallant actions. Before they run in, we've got the two Lysanders getting off. Now the two Westland Lysanders. First monoplane type this to serve with RAF Army Cooperation Command. It replaced two other of the Hawker biplane family, of which we saw a member in the form of the Nimrod earlier on, namely the Audax and the Hector. And it was designed to meet a very specific specification from 1934. Westland put forward this very high-wing monoplane with enormous undercarriage spats, a very large amount of cockpit glazing for both the pilot and the rear seat observer, and a pair of forward-firing .303-inch machine guns also in the spats. The observer could also have one in the rear. And that's represented by the second of the two aircraft in this pair, the aircraft restoration company, Lysander. You could mount 6 bombs on little stub wings, also on the spats. That unusual wing design, and we get a really good example of it here as the aircraft turn away from us, was the result of role experience passed on by Army Cooperation Command pilots, which highlighted the need to give pilots involved in that sort of tasking a really good field of vision. The Gladiator. The engine is the Bristol Mercury 9-cylinder radial. And this aircraft entered service with the RAF in 1938 down at Luftwaffe Heinkel 111. But, come the Battle of France the following year, this aircraft found itself all too vulnerable to enemy attentions. Lysanders performed attacks on German positions and supply drops as well as their primary roles, and losses were serious. Nonetheless, they stayed in theatre until the bitter end. Number 4 Squadrons Lysanders were the last RAF aircraft to leave France for England. During the Battle of Britain, Lysanders of those Army Cooperation squadrons were assigned to the Provisional Air-Sea Rescue Service that the RAF was developing, and which, frankly, it developed rather late. They were searching for downed RAF airmen in the Channel for rescue launchers or other craft to pick up. They didn't prove, it must be said, especially successful. Lysanders were also patrolling potential invasion areas along the south coast, which was rather boring work for their pilots. Their crew members rather expected they would spot the invasion on its way before the ground radars picked them up. But Colin, as we see represented by the black-painted Lysander leading this formation in the Shuttleworth collection, it was in another, more clandestine role that this aircraft perhaps really won its spurs in wartime.
Absolutely right. These aircraft were used by the SOE, or to deliver SOE agents, the Secret Operations Executive. And our image of Lysander delivering an agent into occupied Europe is a lonely flight across the Channel in darkness, to find an isolated field, deliver the agent, land according to the lights. There'd be a mad scramble out of the aircraft, into the aircraft, and then away, assuming that is that the aircraft didn't sink into the ground, which was known to happen. And very often the local resistance would have to manhandle the aircraft rather than rely just upon the power of the engine to get that aircraft away. very brave individuals that took part in this, not only the agents, but the pilots as well.
Yes, those pilots of the special duties, the Lysanders, fitted with the big fuel tank and the access ladder that are on the Shuttleworth one here, came from numbers 138 and 161 Squadron station, not too far away from here in Newmarket and at Duxford, and executive from August 1941 through until the end of 1944, long after D-Day.
Yeah, there's a very interesting memorial at Duxford in the barn that was used for the agents for the final kind of inspection to make sure they didn't have any incriminating materials on them in case they were apprehended in France. But there's photographs of some of the agents, many of them, most of whom in fact lost their lives. But it's, well, if you get the chance, go to Duxford and seek out the memorial.